This video is sponsored by Allesin. Hey everyone, welcome back to Reissued. If you're new here, my name is Andrew. Today we are back to the bathroom renovation. We've been making so much awesome progress in that space and I cannot wait to show you. We're going to be jumping into some painting, some tile work, some little molding details, some finishing touches on the windows, and then we're going to tackle some super secret, totally invisible hidden storage. I think that concealed storage is one of the most important elements in a bathroom space and this room desperately needs it. Can't wait to get started today. Let's jump on in. Alright, so this is actually the third video in the bathroom renovation series. I have 2 videos already. I'll pop them into a playlist down below. If you haven't seen those videos, the planning video and then the progress video where we did the little update on the boob light fixture, pause this video, go watch those now. I'll wait right here. Okay, welcome back. Now that we're all caught up, we're gonna pick up right where we left off in the last bathroom video. Last time I primed the beadboard and now I can start painting it. This shade is cut cedar for a magnolia, and it's gonna wrap around the whole lower part of the room over the beadboard and cabinetry. This will need a thicker second coat with a roller later to even out the sheen and coverage, but for now, I just wanted to get it in all the little grooves and start to be able to visualize the color in the space. Next, let's start adding a little chair rail trim around the top. Like the beadboard, I bought this new at the hardware store. It'll finish off the top edge of the cabinetry and the beadboard all around the room and give one clean horizontal line around the space. We cut these 5.5 inches short on either side of the window to leave space for those window moldings to go back in later. We also added some scrap plywood shelves and some little beadboard spacer pieces on top of the cabinet corners so that we can get an even and level surface to start tiling. Okay, so this is a very exciting moment in our renovation process. We are getting ready to start putting up tile in this room. This is the white subway tile that I got on liquidation 3 years ago, right after I bought the house. And so the remaining boxes have been hanging around for a while. And so we're gonna start chipping away at those and finishing off the final subway tile here in the bathroom. It's gonna take a while, but I'm really excited to get started and to see it up on these walls. This white subway tile is going to go all the way up between the chair rail and the ceiling. This is the same tile that I used in the kitchen and the guest bath. I started with 32 boxes that I got in a liquidation center for around $700, and after 3 years, we're finally down to our last several boxes. Even though most tile professionals would recommend buttering the wall and pressing on the tiles, I'm opting to butter each tile individually so that I can pace myself and achieve a more even surface. These walls are still a little bit uneven and curvy in some areas, so it's important to be able to adjust each tile as I go to keep the depth levels the same. Plus, tiling over and around the windows and having the rows match up is pretty tricky and requires some fine-tuning as well. So this method is a bit slower overall, but we got 3 walls done for this video. The main goal here was to tile the window walls so that we can put back the window moldings. Easier just to tile underneath and put the molding back on top rather than precisely cutting each tile to fit around the moldings, you know? We had removed the moldings a while back to sand and refine them and to replace some of them with better ones that we pulled from other areas of the house where we don't need them anymore. My dad also added some spacer strips to both sides, thicker on the inside along the edges of the window and thinner on the outside so that the moldings will sit flat and even over the beadboard and tile. This will also hold them out a bit further so they look more substantial and complete, and so we can do an inside mount on our cellular shades, which I think looks a little bit more customized. After filling the cracks on the outside strips and giving them a good sanding and paint job, we can install the moldings. Some of the rosettes were a touch too small, so we had to play around with the best placement. It's not perfect, but when you're working with old moldings, they literally don't make them like this anymore, so we gotta do the best we can with what we have. Now we can fill all the cracks with caulk and touch up with paint. This shade is Decadent from Valspar. You've seen this a million times before. This is the shade I have here in the studio, in the kitchen. It's like my basic off-white. We replaced the crappy old sills with a more refined new sill to match the kitchen windows. Now we can finish off the windows with some custom window shades from Allesin. You may remember in my bathroom planning video how I was kind of on the fence about the best solution for the windows in this space. This is a relatively small space overall, and we have these giant windows which bring in a lot of natural light but don't really do much for privacy. So for the window coverings for this space, I wanted something that would allow that beautiful natural light to come through but also add that privacy. I had considered some little half shutters that I got at the REISSUED store, but again, this is a pretty small space, and the window behind the tub is going to be really hard to access once the tub and the whole shower surround go in, and so I think having to open and close those shutters would just be really fussy. So I opted to go with the Motorized light filtering cellular shades from Allesin. Alright, so I'm very excited. Today we get to finally install the blinds from Allesin. I unboxed these a while back just to make sure the dimensions were correct on them, but today we finally get to put them in place and see how they work. It's so exciting. I followed the measuring instructions on their website and ordered the light filtering shades in the white beige shade. Now, if you have a more simple squared off window casing or you're doing an overmount installation, this would be a super simple process. Of course, my old house made things more complicated, so we had to add spacer pieces to make the mounting surface flat and play around with the depths to get the shades to clear the lower part of the window. So not exactly a breeze in my case, but we'll blame that on my house. For installing the shades, you screw the brackets into place and then snap the shade right up over the brackets. These shades come with different options for charging, remote controls, and smart controls. I opted to get the standard USB charging and a Wi-Fi smart bridge that allows me to control the blinds with my Alexa. But these also came with remote controls, so I can use them that way as well. Once everything was installed, we can test these out. So I really love this window solution for this space. These are super practical. Again, I can control them with voice control, so I don't ever have to actually get hands on them to open and close them, which is going to be great for behind the tub. And I also really love the look of these. I was looking for ways to sort of reintroduce that Zen inspiration into this space, and I think that the folded paper look and that kind of beigey color just read kind of like a paper lantern. It ties into the bedroom beautifully. I'm super excited about these. If you love the way this product looks and you think it might work for you in your space, I am gonna link this down in the description box below. Check it out. Now, let's get into our hidden storage. Again, I think that concealed storage is one of the most important elements in a bathroom. You have so many hair care, skin care, cleaning products that are going into a space. They all have different packaging. So even if they do come in attractive packaging, the whole visual together is just really fussy. And so we want to tuck away as many of those products as possible. The original bathroom literally just had one medicine cabinet for storage. There wasn't even vanity space since it was a pedestal sink. So even though we're going to be adding a vanity with the new layout, we're going to have a little bit of storage on the dry bar area on the other side of the room. I want to add even more storage in two different places here in the bathroom. Random side note here, everyone give a warm reissued welcome to my parents' new dog, Sam. This was his first reissued project experience a couple days after my parents brought him home, so he's still a little timid at this stage, so he really liked to hide in the little dead space below the open shelving. He has since come out of his shell a little bit more with some help from Queenie, of course. But yeah, I just thought I'd introduce him in case you see him in the background here. So first, we're gonna be building a pull-out unit on the left side of the tub. This framing on the left was added to visually balance the open shelving on the right side of the tub, and we thought it would be amazing to do another pull-out unit kind of like the one that we did in the guest bathroom. That unit was created from a thrifted kitchen cabinet, which was a super simple option since we used the original drawers and slides. However, this time I think we can make the storage even more functional and more beautiful, but still with repurposed materials. The idea started with these two solid wood drawers that my parents bought at the REISSUED store for $10 each. They had intended to incorporate them into their bathroom vanity, but the size didn't work out. I think if we stack one on top of the other, we can make these work as a shelving unit. For additional shelves, let's use this IKEA cover panel that my parents had left over from their kitchen remodel. You can often find these for super cheap in the as-is section at IKEA, especially when they discontinue one of their cabinet shapes. Let's cut down the cover panel into even 6-inch strips, and then cut them to the width of the inside of the drawers so that we have 5 new shelves. I found these wood pieces at the REISSUED for $2 each. They're exactly the same shade and finish as the drawers. We cut down the wood pieces to fit just inside the drawers as well. Now we can lay everything out and get a sense of how to arrange the shelves. I wasn't sure how the light and dark elements were going to work together, but I think that if we do a big shelf with a guardrail at the bottom of each section, and smaller shelves with the wood piece acting as an edge lip at the top of each section, this will work out just fine. Next, we need to cut down one of the drawers, since both drawers together will be too tall for the opening. To join the drawer pieces together, we use a doweling method. Using a paint stick as a template, we line up the edges of the stick with the edges of the drawers, drill holes in that piece, and then flip the template over onto the other piece to match the hole placement on that side. Once we repeat that process on both sides and the back, we can insert our dowels and test the fit. Looks pretty good. Now let's lock it in by putting wood glue on both sides and pressing them together. After leaving that to dry, we're ready to install the shelves. I think it's important to test some different products on the shelves to make sure you have different shelf height options for all your various products. So once we lock in the layout, we can measure to mark the placement and then screw through the sides into the shelves. The screws on the right side won't be visible, and the screws on the left side will be covered by the beadboard doors. So we countersink the screws on the left to be sure that the door lays flat over them. Once the shelves are all screwed in, we can repeat the process for the wood-facing pieces. Look at how much storage we're getting. Now we can insert our bookcase of sorts into the wood framing. I picked up these heavy-duty drawer slides with a soft close on Amazon for around $40. These hold up to 100 pounds, so fingers crossed that they'll do the job.
Slide it back.
Once it gets the
Upper back.
Even though they hold the weight, this piece is very tall, so it wants to wobble and tip when it slides out. So we added a wood slide to the top center to help it stay on track. It took some fine tuning to get the placement right, and a little soap to help it slide easily. Now we can finally wrap the sides in front of the wall with beadboard to make this unit totally invisible. It worked out perfectly that the 8-inch depth of our shelves lined up perfectly with 2 grooves on our beadboard. So we cut the beadboard down right along those grooves using the table saw. You'll notice that we use a table saw a lot in this video since it gives the straightest possible cuts, but you could do this with a circular saw as well if that's all you have on hand. We go ahead and mount the center panel of the beadboard to the side of our pull-out unit to make sure we get it centered. We space it down a bit from the top since it needs to clear the molding piece that we're going to put up above. Before we close the pullout, we'll need to attach a handle so we can get it pulled back out again. I found this little towel ring at Goodwill for 99 cents. Then we can place the pieces on either side with an appropriate gap and cut those down to reach the corners of the wall. With those installed, we can attach the side beadboard and the moldings along the top. I really like the wood and the curved shape of this towel ring. However, I've recently seen this exact same towel ring in a trailer on Yellowstone and in a 70s apartment on Mindhunter, so I think we need to make a change to the aesthetic here. Let's paint it to blend right into the wall. My mom lightly sands it and then adds some BB Brush additive to the paint to help it bond with the shiny oak finish. With that, the pull-out unit is done. Stay tuned to the end of the video to see the finished look. I said we're adding hidden storage in 2 areas, so on to the second one. I think it's important to have some concealed storage right by your vanity for smaller products like toothpaste and contact solution, things that you're reaching for all the time. However, we can't put a mirror medicine cabinet on this wall since we did that on the other side of the wall in the guest bathroom, and so the wall space is already used up. Plus, I'm gonna put this super cool thrifted mid-century mirror in the space, so we need to move our medicine cabinet somewhere else. Why not over the toilet? And why not behind some artwork? So I am certainly not the first person to do this. My mom actually sent me the idea from an Instagram reel. However, I do have a couple special tips and tricks up my sleeve for this project. First of all, in the interest of zero waste and general thriftiness, let's use the cutoffs from the thrifted drawer that we used for the pullout to make our box. We cut it down depth-wise to 3.5 inches, cut down the sides a bit, and now we have a perfect 18-inch square. Let's dowel it in the same way that we did with the pullout to lock in the structure. And for the back, let's cut some scrap beadboard and nail that on. Now we can measure very carefully and place a lot of tape landmarks for other elements of the space. Vanity height, toilet height, sconce placement, mirror placement, to lock in the placement for our art storage so that we can cut a freaking hole in the wall. No big deal. With a little fine tuning and some added framing inside the wall, we can slide the box into place, nail it in, caulk the gaps, and touch up the paint. For the shelves, let's reach back into the reissued stockpile of remnants and see what we can find. We dug out the old solid surface countertop that has appeared on the kitchen island and in both other bathrooms. I got the sheet for $100 at the REISSUED ages ago, and it's still kicking. We're using this for the lowest shelf and the open shelving as well, so it'll tie in nicely here. My dad drilled some holes for some brass pegs to hold the shelves in place. Now for the art itself. I got this frame for $3 at Goodwill right when I moved to Georgia, so it's been hanging around my house unused for 4 years. This is a nice sturdy Target frame, the size and shape are perfect for this space, so we designed the whole project around this. Can't say that I'm loving the little black and white dot artwork. I think we can do better. My boyfriend Matt gave me a tip about the massive amount of public domain artwork that's available for free on Flickr. A lot of these images are from archival resources that partner with Flickr to use its simple user interface. So I found a piece that I liked from artist Raher Stolk and downloaded the highest quality version of that file. Then I scaled it to fit my frame and sent it to my local printer, who printed it for me on a creamy white paper for a whopping $1.25. Which means that I got the frame and the art for under $5. I opened up the back of the frame and found that the art and the mat were all fused together, and the black and white print showed up right along the edges of my print, so I painted the border out in white acrylics to minimize the effect. Then I inserted the print into place with some double stick tape I had on hand. Warning, you should use an acid-free archival tape for a project like this in order to maintain and preserve the art over time. That is not what I'm doing here, I'm just using what I had on hand, but if you want to do it right, acid-free archival tape is the way to go. My parents and I reassembled the frame, adding some thin strips of wood to hold the art tight against the frame. Then we attached this old frame back that my mom coated in a sealant that we picked up for $2 at the REISSUED store. We press on the back and staple it down. I'd advise that you get an easy frame that doesn't require all these extra steps, but it was $3. We hang the frame with a piano hinge from Amazon, lining up the hinge with the edge of the frame and then inserting the screws. Then we line up the other side of the hinge along the edge of our box and add the remaining screws. The cheap screws kept breaking off in the holes, so either spring for a better quality hinge or use a delicate touch when inserting the screws. Finally, we add a magnetic closure from Amazon to hold the frame closed. And with that, we're done. I'm so excited to show you the finished storage in the space. This was definitely a complicated process, but my parents and I are committed to using repurposed and affordable materials as often as possible, so sometimes that makes things complicated. If you don't have the time or the assistance to make things complicated, hopefully you got some great ideas for maximizing storage in your space and utilizing the things that you already have on hand. Big thank you to Allesin for sponsoring this video. I love how the blinds look in my space. I love how they function. Again, I'm dropping a link down in the description box if you want to check out their products. Finally, if you enjoyed this video and you like how these projects turned out, be sure to hit the like button. That really helps this video to reach a wider audience here on YouTube. And if you want to hang with me and see this bathroom through to completion, be sure that you're subscribed. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you guys soon. Alexa, close the bathroom windows.